This video will cover how to use the different features of SchoolPing. It will cover, first of all, how to roll out SchoolPing to your parents and get them onto the SchoolPing app. It will cover sending messages to the whole school and also how to send messages to groups of parents. It will look at how to use the SchoolPing calendar. It will look at how to use our form feature, that is setting up forms, creating forms, sending forms and looking at form responses. And then I'll also show you where the help centre is for further information. The Parents Evening booking form system will be covered in an additional video. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to log in to SchoolPing. It is really important that you make sure you can see your school's name on your login screen. And we will get logged in. So we're going to log in just there. Now this member of staff that I'm logging in with has SchoolPing admin ticked in their account settings. So make sure that you've watched the SchoolPing admin setup SchoolPing training video first, so that you know that you've got all your members of staff that need to be able to send messages to all parents in one go. That's your school news option just here. Make sure they've got the ability to do that. So once you've logged in, this is the screen you will see. You've got your home, your inbox. That is your personal messages you've been sent as a member of staff. Pending messages, ones that are saved and scheduled. We'll cover all of these afterwards, so don't worry. Sent messages, you'll have a record of everything that's been sent. The forms feature, the calendar feature, some admin, and then your personal settings. So first of all, we're going to look at rolling out SchoolPing to your parents. So SchoolPing works similarly to WhatsApp. It's an app-based system. It is not text messages. And so that means that your messages that you send out will be sent out to the parents' app. It's not sent to their mobile number, so we don't require your parents' mobile numbers. What we do need, ideally, is the parents' email addresses in your MIS system. But there is an option for inviting parents who haven't got an email address as well. So we'll cover both of those just now. First of all, I'm going to show you how to roll out SchoolPing to your parents. So we'll come to the admin tab for this. And here you can see the rollout plan. Got 3 steps just here. Under the number 1, create parental accounts, it will tell you how many accounts you have got. If you use the little drop-down arrow, you can go into Manage Accounts, which will take you into your accounts area if you need to make any changes to accounts, i.e. resetting parent passwords, checking which parents are linked to which children, or the Export Account Info option, which will download a CSV file for you to take a look at, and that will list all your parents, who they're linked to, what email address you've got for them on your MIS system, whether they've downloaded the app yet, all kinds of useful information on there. The number 2 is where we want to start though, to send out our login details. And there's 2 different rollout options here. So we've got the option to email invites. So that will send an email to any parent that's got an email address on the system. So if you've got an email address for them in your MIS system and it's in the home field in your MIS system, we will pull that across into SchoolPing. That means that you can send an email invitation to those parents. So what that will mean is they receive an email inviting them to use SchoolPing. It will give them a link that they can click where they can then set their own passwords, and once they've done this, it will tell them their username and tell them how to download the app. So for the email invite option, you're not sending them their password, they set their own password. So once they've set their own passwords and they've downloaded the app and logged in, they'll also be asked to enter a verification email address. 9 times out of 10, this is going to match the email address you've got for them on your MIS system. Sometimes it doesn't, but that doesn't matter. But essentially, that email address they choose to verify is the email address that they will use if they need to reset their own password in the future because they've forgotten it or got a new phone or whatever the case may be. So they need to verify their email address. So they'll pop their email address in, 123@gmail.com. That will then send them an email to their email inbox, which they'll need to go and find. And in that email, there'll be a verify email address link that they need to click. They'll then once more be asked to put in their SchoolPing password. Once they've done that, that's their account verified. So that's the email invites option. That's the easiest way. Obviously, it's paperless, which is great. But if you haven't got email addresses for some of your parents, you've also got some print invites options as well. So you can choose to print all invites in one go, or what we usually recommend is to print group invites. So by clicking on this, you can then select a year group at a time to print your invitations for. If you hover over the little grey silhouette, it will show you how many people you're going to be printing an invitation for, and then you can click print. If you want to see what your invitation will look like, you can hover over the cog on any of the print options, and that's going to show you your template. So it will populate your school name, the date, the parent name, and then if you want to, you can edit any of these boxes to use your own wording if you like, or you can just use our suggested format. So once you're happy, you can email your invites and that will go to everybody in one go, or you can print your invites as well. The printed invites will include a username and password for the parent. So if you are going to be printing your invites, bear in mind these will need to go into envelopes because obviously they contain usernames and passwords. The printed invite will include the child's name in the top right-hand corner so that you know which child that letter has got to go home with. Parents with more than one child in the school will only receive one invitation. So whether that's via email or printed invite, they'll only receive one invitation. They only need one account for SchoolPing for your school, and all their children will be on that one account. So they'll receive all their messages to that one account about any and all children they have with you in the school. So they'll only receive one invitation. So that is your rollout process from the rollout options just here. To see your coverage, you'll check out the number 3. So at the moment, my demo school here, I've got 23% pupil coverage. That means 23% of the pupils in my school have got at least one parent that when I send a SchoolPing message would receive that message. And if I click onto that, I can see that I've got a large percentage with no coverage. That means they've got no app and they've got no email address on the system. So if I send them a SchoolPing message, they're not going to know about it. It will go into their SchoolPing inbox, but they will be none the wiser that it's there. They've never logged into their SchoolPing account before, and they've got no email address. I've got 6% that are covered by email, which means that when I send out a SchoolPing message, they're going to be notified by email that they've got a new SchoolPing message. So they're not logged into the app, but they will get an email to say, you've got a new SchoolPing message. The web option shows that 10% of my pupils' parents have logged in to SchoolPing via the web, and 6% are on the app. The app is obviously the most desirable option, and the aim is to get as many of your parents onto the app as possible. That means that no matter where they are, as long as they've got sufficient internet or Wi-Fi coverage, they're going to receive that message and be alerted to the fact there's a new message there. The next best option is your email. They'll get an email alert. Most people have got email on their phones nowadays anyway, but the app is most desirable. Everybody with no coverage obviously are the people you want to target the most to get them onto the app or to get an email address for them into your MIS database. You can also choose to export any of these so you can see exactly which parents have got no coverage or who is on the app. So that option there is very useful. But actually, I find, and I often suggest this to customers, that the export account info option shows a really great range of information. So I'll do that now. Please bear in mind, my demo school doesn't have very many parents at all. So this will download a CSV file for you to have a look at all your account information. So you've got your parent names, their username, children that they're linked to, the class those children are in. The last email invite column shows you when you last sent email invitations out. So that's quite useful for keeping track of seeing when you last sent a batch of email invitations out. App status, that will tell you whether they're active on the app or not. You've got your last web login date, so if they've ever logged in on the web to check their SchoolPing messages. The contact email, so that's the email address we've pulled across from your MIS database. Authentication email, that's the email address they've chosen to verify against their SchoolPing account. As I said, most of the time this will match what you have in your database. Occasionally it may differ. Whether you've got paper communication turned on for that parent, that's something that can be applied in their settings of their account if they wish. And then the notifications column is the last one. That tells you that if you were to send them a SchoolPing message right now, how they would be notified of that message. So if you've got an email address in that column, it means they're going to get an email notification to say they've got a new SchoolPing message. If it says app, they're going to get an app notification. If it's blank, they've got no coverage, they're not going to be aware that that SchoolPing message is there at all. Those are the parents that you need to work on getting an email address for them or help them get the app downloaded and get them logged into the app. So that will show you any gaps you've got there. So that's the pupil coverage and the export account info options. So that's the whole of the rollout and how to monitor which parents are downloading the app, logged into the app, and to see where any gaps in your coverage may be. You've also then got a section on analytics, so you can see how many messages you've sent, the open rate, and the average opening time as well. So that's the admin tab. Once you've rolled out and your parents have started to download the app, started to use SchoolPing, we'll come back to the Home tab. And we're going to have a look at sending our SchoolPing messages now. The first option we've got is our school news option. That is the sending messages to all parents. This option is only available to staff who have got SchoolPing admin ticked in their account. So we'll choose message all parents. You'll see here you can't change the recipient. It is all parents. Can't pick and choose with this option. By default, it will also include all staff. If you don't want to, you just need to untick that box there. You then can put in your subject. So if this is a newsletter, for example, you need to just pop that in there to let them know the newsletter coming and choose a category that most suits. The public message box, if you have one of our websites, there is the option to add a SchoolPing widget to your website. This is only available for New Era websites. And what this does, if you tick the public message box, it will send this message and any attachments to the SchoolPing widget on your website. Then you just need to type your message. The from field will be populated with your name, whoever's logged in. That can be changed if you'd like it to come from the office team, SLT, Year 4 teacher, whatever you'd like that to say. You've then got the option to add attachments and photos. If you choose to add an attachment, for example, your newsletter, we do always recommend you attach PDF files. These are far more easily viewable on parents' devices. Word documents don't always open on phones and that kind of thing, so PDF documents are far better where possible. If you'd like to share any photos from recent events, perhaps, then they can be attached to this message as well. Once you're happy with your message, you can choose to send it now, which will send the message straight away. You can schedule the message. So if we click that option here, you can choose a date and time you'd like this message to go out. So I'd like it to go out on Monday at 11 o'clock. You can also type over if you'd like to make it 11:30. And you can choose to add an expiry date. That's optional. But what that does, if you choose to put one in, is that the date and time that you enter in here, the message will remove itself from the parent's inbox. Now, it's worth noting, and I'll cover this a little bit more later, is parents cannot delete SchoolPing messages themselves. So it is up to the school to make sure that they either add expiry dates to messages where possible or manually delete them from the sent area, which I'll cover in a little while. So where possible, we always say, when you're sending out a message, add your expiry date at the same time. So if you know it's about Red Nose Day that you're sending the message about, and the next day that message is no longer going to be relevant, add an expiry date and time, and then that just means you don't need to remember to manually delete it. It will happen automatically for you at the date and time that you've put in there. As I said, it's optional. You don't have to have it in there at all. So you can schedule that message if you like. You can also preview the message, and that will just show you what the parents will see on their phone. Or you can save the message. That means you can come back to it later and send it out. It's also worth noting that save button is grayed out until every single field is completed, and then that save option becomes available. So for that message I've just scheduled, that will now be sitting in our pending area just here. And there it is. And whilst it's sitting in pending, I can click into it. That will show me what it looks like. And I can also edit the message as well if I'm not happy with it or I want to change it. And you can see when it's scheduled to go out. So now we'll look at the messaging groups or individuals option. So the school news option is for messaging all parents. Messaging groups or individuals is for messaging specific parents or class of parents. So we'll go into that option just there. So this time we need to choose our recipients. You can do this by clicking the grey silhouette icon, choosing either a class of parents. So these are the classes we will have taken from your MIS database. Parents of a pupil. So this is any and all parents of specific children. And when you hover over the child, it will tell you the parents they're linked to. Individual parents. So if it's just one parent you need to message, again, if you hover over them, it will tell you linked pupils. And the last option is the option to copy staff in to share that message with them as well. The other way of choosing to send to a specific group is by using this blue Contact Groups button here. This is for creating custom groups. So you'll have the option to create a new group. For example, we'll say Choir Club. You can then choose your recipients. So you may want to put in the member of staff who's running Choir Club, and then choose either individual parents, parents of a pupil, or parents of a group. So for a club, you're most likely to be choosing parents of a pupil. These children are all involved with Choir Club, and then we can add them over here. And once you're happy, you can save. And then that will populate here for you. If I remove that for a moment, I can show you on the Contact Groups button here, we've got that Choir Club group that I've just created. And if I want to change that group for any reason, somebody leaves the club, I can do that by clicking on the cog and removing that pupil. I can then go ahead and save it, or if I don't need the group anymore, I can delete it altogether, like so. So you choose your people. Again, pop your subject in, choose your category, type your message, add any attachments and photos, and then again you've got the option to send it, schedule it, preview it, or save it. Any messages that you've saved or scheduled will go into your pending area. You can then click into it, edit it, and then send it, schedule it, preview it. Some schools choose to set up a template for bumped head or first aid. And what they do with this is they would use the message parents option, leave the recipients blank, but fill out the rest. And then they can save the message. And then what that will do is put that message in pending, bumped head template, for example. And then from that template, using the cog over here, you can choose to either edit that message and send it, but then you lose your template because that message has gone, or you can actually clone it, and that will create an exact copy. So what you can then do is go into the copy you've created and edit it. You can then find your recipients, so I'll just choose parents with pupil. You can personalize the message. And then you can send it. Message has been sent to one recipient. Excellent. And now when I go back into pending, you'll see that template is still there because I sent the copy and that's gone instead. So the template is there again to be cloned again and again and again, so you're not typing out the same message over and over again. Once you've started sending your messages, you'll want to have a look in sent because this is where they'll go. So you can see this is the message I've just sent about bumped heads, who it was sent to, the sender, when it was sent, if I had an expiry date on that message, which I didn't, the status showing that at the moment I've sent it to one person and nobody has read that, so that recipient hasn't yet read that message. And there are some additional options on the cog, which I'll show you in a moment. So if you want to see what that message said, you can click on it. That just shows me a reminder of what was said. If you want to set an expiry date because you forgot when you sent it out, you can do that now. And that adds that in. If I click on the status, I can see who it was sent to, about which child. I can see that it hasn't yet been read. This little clock symbol shows it's not been read by the recipient yet. If I move down to an earlier message that I sent, you can see that 2 of 7 recipients have read it, and they've both read it via the app. The little phone symbol here is the app. So it shows the date and time they read it and how they read it as well. So you can keep track of who has seen your messages, who's read them. From the cog, you've got some additional options here. So the view status is the same as by clicking just here. You can recall the message. So if you've sent the message out in error and you need it to come back off the parents' phones, you can recall it. Once you've recalled it, it goes into then the pending area to edit, and then you can resend it or delete it if you don't want it at all. You can forward it to a new recipient. You can delete that individual message, or you can live edit. If you choose to live edit, that's just for small changes. So if you've made a spelling mistake and you just want to correct that, you can choose to live edit the message. And once you've made your changes, you just click publish. So what that will do is that just updates the message on the parent's phone. It doesn't send them a new message, so they won't know it's been updated, but the next time they go back into that message, it will show that change. So it's really just for minor corrections. If you change a date on something and you need them to know you've changed the date, recall the message, edit the message and resend it, and that will send them then that fresh message to let them know that change has been made. So this is your sent area. You can see how many live messages you've got. As I said earlier, parents cannot delete messages themselves. That means that the school will need to do a little bit of admin work once a week or once every couple of weeks, depending how much you use SchoolPing, and either add expiry dates to the messages, delete individual messages from the cog, or if you'd like to bulk delete messages, you can do this by hovering over the category over here and selecting multiple messages and then delete. You will be asked to confirm, are you sure you want to delete? It will tell you how many messages you're deleting there, and you can click yes or cancel. By default, when you come into your sent area, you'll see your live messages, but you can also see messages that have expired. So you've got a record of things that were sent out, and you can also see messages that have been deleted. It's worth noting here as well that to see all these sent messages, the staff member must have SchoolPing admin ticked in their account. So only your SchoolPing admins can see all these sent messages. Other staff will only be able to see messages they have sent themselves. So now we'll take a look at SchoolPing forms. So for your SchoolPing messages, for message your parents and message parents from here, it's a one-way messaging system. You're sending the SchoolPing message to them. They can't respond to those messages. If you'd like some sort of response, what you can do is create a form and attach it to the message for the parent to fill in and submit back to you. This is particularly good for getting consent for school trips, a choice of meal for Christmas dinner or clubs, whatever it may be. If you want something back for them, I'll show you now how to create a form. We're going to go into the Manage Form Templates area just here. To begin with, you'll see 3 templates that we've created for you, but you can add as many templates and create as many templates as you like. The reason we suggest creating a template here is you can save it, which means you can come back in and edit it, but also I'll show you how you can clone it so that you can create an exact copy of the form, which means if you're going to use that form every term, every week, every year, you can create a template, clone it, send it out, and then that template will remain here for you to use again, so you haven't got to build the form again in the future. So what we're going to do is we'll create a template now. So we can do that by clicking Create Template. What you'll see is down the left is where we're going to make our edits to the form, and down the middle of the screen is going to start building the form up as we go. We won't click Save until the form is completely finished. So what we'll do first of all is we're going to give this template a name. So we'll click into that field there and give this template a name. So if you know, for example, that every year your year 4s go to a museum trip, for example. So we'll call that museum trip. So we don't click Save yet. We always click Return to Template Builder. We now need to choose a response type. So by default, it's response per child. If you click into this, you'll see you've got the option as well to change it to response per parent. So if it's for something like choosing clubs or a consent form, a response type per child would be correct. You only need one of the parents to fill out this form and submit it back to you. If it's something like an Ofsted questionnaire and you want all parents to fill it in, you can choose per parent response type. So once you've chosen, go back to return to your template builder. You've got a couple of additional options that you can add here as well. The first one is a submission deadline. So this will add a deadline to the form by which point the parents have to have filled the form out. So if I click into this now, you'll see it adds a deadline, and when I click onto it, I can choose the date and time. So if this is for a school trip and you know you need to have had consent by the morning of the trip, so we'll say 8 AM, then this means the parents will need to fill this form out by that point. If they don't, the form is no longer available to them. They will not be able to fill the form out. So what we say is, if you're going to add a deadline, make sure it's as close to the event as possible, because once the deadline is passed, we can't get that form back. It's gone, it's closed, that's nothing we can do. When you're building the form up like this and adding these fields in, they become coded, if you like, into the form itself, and it becomes part of the form, and it's not something we're able to change. So just be aware, if you add a deadline, make sure that you're giving them plenty of time to fill it out. If you decide actually we don't want a deadline, you can just click the little bin option and that will remove it. It's an option, it's optional, you don't have to have it. Event time information is your other option on here, and that just let your parents know when the event is going to take place. So you can choose if it's an all-day event or if it's a school trip, the date that it's happening from then until whenever it finishes. And that just tells them when it's going to happen. Then we need to start adding our form fields. These are our questions. So we're going to click the Add Field button, and we've got some different options here. So we've got a checkbox option. So that allows your parent to select multiple options. So this would be used potentially if you're offering clubs, a club list, and you'd like them to tick all the clubs their child would like to be part of that term. You've got the option for a multiple choice question, so they can only choose one answer from the choices you give them. Some guidance text, that's not really a question so much as it's some information that you would put on the form. So if it's for a school trip, something like, make sure you bring a packed lunch, hat, sun cream, that kind of thing. And a free text response is a question where you're asking them to provide the answer for you. So I'm going to add some guidance text first. So it's, as it says here, static text, giving information for the form. So please bring a packed lunch, so on. Return to template builder. I'm going to choose next a multiple choice question. The question goes in here. So do you give consent? And so on. Choose my answer option. So really it's going to just be yes or no. And I can bin my third option there. Or if I've got lots of different choices, if you're asking them to choose a meal option and you've got 5 or 6 different choices, you can add multiple choice options, as many as you'd like. Return to template builder. And we'll look at a free text response. So, does your child have any medical needs? Then they will type their response in there. You can make this required or not. So if you want them to type something back in here before they submit the form back, even if it's just no medical needs, then you can make that required so that you know they've at least seen that question. That's fine. And then we'll add a checkbox as well. Would you be available to help on the trip? So here, for example, yes, I can, yes, my partner can, so it could be that both of them can help out on the trip, and you want to give them the option to say yes to both of those. So as you can see, that's there. So the last thing I will show you just on here is the questions will be added to the form in the order you're adding them. If you think, oh, actually, that doesn't make much sense there, I want my medical needs question to be at the bottom, what you can do is rearrange your questions just by hovering over the side, the little dots at the side, and then you can drag it down to the bottom. And then once you're happy with your form and you've got it exactly how you like it, you can click the Save button here. Museum trip, this is the one I've just created here. So that's now a template. So what I can do from this template is I can click into it if I want to, and I'll see exactly how this looks. I can use the cog and I can create a message. What this will do is it will create a message and attach this form. So if I only intend on using this form once, the create message option is fine. It will attach this very form I've just created to the message and it will send it to them. If, however, you're going to want to use this form again, we would suggest using the clone option, which will create a copy. And then you can send the copy out and it will leave this one alone. I'll show you that in a moment. You can edit the form, so if you think, oh, we missed a question, you can choose to edit. And it takes you back into the edit mode. Save any changes you make. You can preview it. So again, that's the same as clicking on it. It will show you what it's going to look like. Or if you no longer need it, you can delete it entirely. So for the time being, we're going to assume I'm going to use this form again in the future. So I'm going to clone it. So I'll click clone. And it's going to then just open up the editor once more. What this just means is that if you needed to make any changes specifically for this trip this year, you could do that on the copy. But otherwise, I'm happy that it's the same, so I'm going to save it like so. And then you'll see I've got the museum trip and the museum trip copy. Now, from the copy, I can use the cog and choose create message. I can make any final changes. it goes back to untitled form because the template name you used, museum trip, is not particularly descriptive. Here, then you're prompted to put in Year 4 museum trip and then perhaps a date as well. Make any final changes you'd like to make and then save it. Then that means that's attached to this message, which will be sent out. So what you can then do, just like you would normally for sending a normal message without a form, select your recipients, pop your subject, category, and your message in there. And then again, you can send it straight away, schedule it, or preview it, or save it. So it's very similar, but the only difference is it's got a form there that the parents, when they get the message, it will have the form attached, which they can open, answer the questions, and submit the answers back to you. So once you've sent forms out and you want to start seeing the responses, you'll come to Forms and go to Manage Forms just here. And then any forms you've sent out will appear here. So we can click into it, this one here. I've got an overview of answers. I can also check individual answers about individual children. I can send a reminder. If I click that, that will send a reminder message to parents who have yet to fill this form in. I can go to Manage Responses. And what this will do is I can see who's already given me a response for this, but also if you get a parent phone the office or come into the office and say, I've lost my phone, I can't make it work, I'm not sure what to do, could you do it for me please? What you would do is click that Manage Responses button, click the cog, choose Add Response, and then you can fill that in on behalf of the parent and save changes. And then you'll see that's now responded to. The last options for this form can be found here on the cog, where you can view the message so you can see the message that this form was attached to. You can export the responses into a CSV file. You can print the responses. You can manage the responses, which is where you add a response on behalf of the parent, the same as this button here, or send a reminder to those people who have yet to fill out the form. Again, that's the same as this send reminder button just here. So that was your Manage Forms area. This will just give you a little overview. You can see how many parents have responded. Again, it will default to your live forms, but you can also check out your expired or deleted forms as well if you need to see those. So the last thing we're going to cover in this video is the calendar, the SchoolPing calendar. So if we click into that, the SchoolPing calendar, we've got a parent's calendar and a staff calendar. Any events you put on this parent calendar will show up to the parents on their SchoolPing app in the calendar. It will also show for the staff on the staff app as well. So the staff will be able to see on the calendar any events that you put on for parents, assemblies, school trip, anything like that. So all you do is click Create, put an event in, Year 4 assembly, choose your start time and end time, choose whether it's repeating, you can choose a color if you'd like, and then click Create Event. And there it is, just there. And that will be on the parent calendar and the staff calendar. To choose between which calendar you're putting it on, you can change it just here. Staff calendar looks exactly the same, except that for staff calendar, anything you put on the staff calendar will remain only on the staff calendar. Parents won't see that. So if you've got staff meetings, training days, that kind of thing, they can go on your staff calendar and the parents won't see that on theirs. Hopefully the calendar is a fairly easy feature to use. If you've got one of our websites, we can set up a sharing between the calendar on your website and SchoolPing. Again, that's if you've got one of our websites, we can sort that out for you. Just contact our support team and we can help you get that set up where you will make changes to your website calendar and it will then feed through into your SchoolPing calendar automatically so you haven't got to update both. But for now, I will leave you with one final piece of information, and that is where to find our help centre. That's on our home page just here, and if we click into it, we've got Getting Started, so that's your rollout process, how to send SchoolPing messaging, Parents' Evening booking form, which is actually covered in another video, but if you want to see information on that, there's a section here, SchoolPing forms as well, and then some general guidance, some support documents, which are PDFs that you may find useful as well. So thank you very much for watching. As always, if you'd like any further help or support, please contact the New Era support team. They're always happy to help make SchoolPing a success for your school. Thank you.